Hey, so for today's lesson, in sort of continuing with what we've already looked at, we were looking specifically at our major scales, and we were looking at our major scale exercises. So just starting to look at the voice from a more advanced perspective, because we've worked on these exercises, which we're going to quickly review here, and then moving on, we're going to start to look at some more advanced techniques. So to start, I need the volume. Let's start with our major scale. So we'll start on solfege. So here we go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. On numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The next one we learned after we learned our major scale was the bumblebee exercise, our scale in thirds. So we have bumble, 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 bumblebee. Bumble, 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 bumblebee. We're not going to do that on solfege or numbers yet, because things kind of get a little bit complicated, and I will explain that in greater detail later. But for now, just use that bumblebee as our exercise in thirds. I don't know why that did that. Sorry, my player did something weird. The next thing that we talked about was our 1-1-5-1 exercise, which is one of my personal favorites. So here's what that one sounds like. 1, 1, 5, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 5, 8, 8, 7, 8. One more time. 1, 1, 5, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 5, 8, 8, 7, 8. The reason this is such a good exercise, and I never really explained this before, is 1, this goes through all of our notes, but 2, it teaches us our scale in relation to the intervals that we are most likely to hear. For example, 1, 5, 1, that interval, 1, 5, 1, comes up a whole bunch in music. So that's a really important reason to learn that one. From 1, 5, 1, all the way to 3, 1, 3, very important interval. That is a major third. 1, 3. In our major scale, the major third is one of the most important notes. That is what makes a major scale major instead of minor. We'll be talking about minor scales soon, but for now, just know that that 1 and then that 3 is what makes it major in the first place. So, I don't know why it keeps doing that. It keeps on giving me an error message. Our 1, our 3, and our 5 altogether is our major chord. 1, 3, 5, do, mi, so. Those 3 notes are our major chord. That is what makes a chord major, are those 3 notes. Now the first, there's no surprise then that the first 3 notes in this exercise are 1, 5, 1, 3. Those notes. From the 3, we're practicing the notes in between 1 and 5 that are kind of trickier to hear. 3, 4, 2, 3. Just showing how close all of those notes are. 3, 4, 2, 3. From there, we go from 5 to 6. That is an interval that comes up a lot. 5, 6, 5, 5. And then the very close interval of 8 to 7 to 8. 8, 7, 8. You can hear just how close that is. 8, 7, 8. It goes right to it. Now, that's that exercise. We also talked about our, what do we call that? Interval training. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 5, 1, 1, 6, 1, 1, 7, 1, 1, 8, 1. Now, this is really important. As a vocalist, there are 2 things that make our instrument particularly different. The first is that it's internal. It's all within us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second is, as a result, our hearing has to be really, really strong. We have to know exactly what our notes are. So this interval exercise really helps us with what is called ear training, where you're literally training your ears to hear the notes so that eventually you can just sing, no problem, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 5, 1, 1, 6, 1, 1, 7, 1, 1, 8, 1. And it's very important that we practice that so that we can do that without even thinking about it. So that is the breakdown of why these major scale exercises are so important. The first reason is the major scale is the foundation of all melody in the entire history of songs ever. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That is very important for us to be able to know what our scale is depending on what song we're learning. The scale in thirds, bumble, 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 gets us practicing a pattern that comes up a lot in music. Da, 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 da. Depending on the song, you'll hear that all over the place. Or da, 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 da. You'll hear that all over the place. Just a little pattern that comes up quite a bit. The next thing we talked about was the most common intervals: 1 to 5, 1 to 3, 3 to 4, 2 to 3, 5 to 6, and 8 to 7. Those are the most common intervals. And then practicing all of our intervals starting on 1 or do. 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5. Practicing every single note in the scale all the way to 8. So the reason I didn't want to add anything more this week is because we still have songs that we're working on. So keep on working on your songs, keep on warming up. But try to use these major scale exercises utilizing the reasoning behind them just as much as the practical application of those scales. And then next time we will begin to look at our minor scales, which I hinted at in this video. So have a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye.